Does anybody want to address anybody else's comments just within our little Quintalogue here?
Well, I'd like to ask Robin Bachman. Robin, who are the subjects that you, who do you choose as subjects?
Okay. The first one is a self-portrait, the closest to myself. The middle one is a friend of mine who was a writer, a novelist, and she passed away, but I did this as she was just in the process of publishing her novel. And the third one is a friend of mine, Yuri, who was a painter who I painted with for many, many years. And that was really that was a very experimental painting. That came before these two. But it was a complex relationship, and which, gave me the opportunity to have something to paint about. When you have with me, when I choose my subjects and there are strong relationships, because of all that, I can just forget about it. It's like preparing for something and then you can completely forget about it because of the nature of the depth of the relationship. I know something will keep coming. So, yeah.
Do you have to feel great love for your subject in order to spend a certain amount of time with? I mean, I guess I'd like to ask that of everybody.
Not necessarily. It's amazing. I did some of my mother. Those actually did not survive. But that was a very complicated relationship. I'm trying to think. I think there has to be love and other things. There has to be a connection, a deep connection. Even because, like in the other room, there are not just beings but sculptures of beings, and there are sculptures that I really love and I've had a strong relationship with. So, as long as there is an intense relationship, it could be love, and love has to be part of it, though. I think so. Yeah.
Can you hold that for 1 second? I want to ask you a question. Does the use of vinyl relate to anything about how you feel? I'm just curious about this particular kind of unusual material to paint on, and I know that the whole process is done in reverse. Right. So, could you comment on that?
Recently, a friend of mine who's known me for 35 years, when I was telling him about this vinyl show, said, "Didn't your mother have vinyl slip covers?" And I thought, oh my God, she did. I'm very comfortable with vinyl. I think I've been around it forever, and I think I just sort of went from the slip covers to these paintings. It is interesting working in reverse because this goes both towards what I believe in philosophically, and when you work in reverse, the details come first, and everything that you've done is there. You can't remove it. It's there forever, and that's really goes back to what I was saying about the trust in painting, because even I really do believe that whatever has happened, and you really have to completely accept it and work with it. So somehow, and I also feel like in working in reverse from the details to the background, I feel like that's how I've lived my life. I mean, I feel like when I was young, I did senility, so I think that's out of the way now. I've been slowly working towards childhood. I think everything is really reversed about the process. And also, I remembered, and I know I told Audrey this, but I remembered when I was a little girl, I had a very fastidious housekeeper. And I used glitter in areas, gold leaf in areas. And I remember once I went away to summer camp, and I said to my housekeeper, "Millie, whatever happens to the house, to my bedroom, don't do anything, don't clean it up," because I had prayed that all my furniture would become covered with glitter. And that's what the love of, and I also grew up on the beach and went there literally on the beach, right on the ocean, and I was so taken with the reflections. I loved looking at the reflection of the ocean. I just was mesmerized all the time. So with the vinyls, even what I love about them is looking at them even when I can't see the image and I'm just seeing the reflection, because I think it gives me, that piece of the water and the ocean.
Oh, you want me to ask another question?
I actually have a question for Nana. Yes, I see that your work has a lot of references to classical Western art. So I'd like you to sort of comment on what attracts you to that and your personal relationship with that. And here's the mic.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I like the classical Western painting. You know, I mean, I grew up with them, so I used to see them. So they're part of my culture, I will say. I use them just as part of my culture. Some of them are coming from that. Some are not. You know, so it depends. I'm not always looking at those paintings. But I do like them, and I do like to look at the old painter and dream when I look at them, you know.
So I want to know, Robin, Robin Ross, when you're painting somebody and you're painting their essence and their spirit, and all, do you see the colors? Do you see people's auras, or does it translate for you? Does it?
Well, it doesn't come usually until the end of the piece, and I don't know when it's going to appear, so no, I don't see it beforehand. That's a really succinct answer. But one time I recently took pictures here in Tabula Rasa Gallery of 35 different people, most of whom I did not know, who wanted to pose for a possible painting that I may do of them at some point. Maybe I'll do them all, but I'm not that quick. And one of the photographs of one of the people who came had an aura in the photograph, and I took about 20 or 30 digital shots of each person, and about 6 of the shots of one particular person had white light around their head. So that was the only person whose work showed that. I know the spots can be a little bright. So if I paint his portrait, I already know the color, and it will be white. So yes and no.
Well, I wanted to thank you all. My name is Joyce, and I received something from everybody. I wanted to address what you had said, Robin, specifically, because, well, people that have gone through near-death experiences, by the very virtue of what they've gone through, it unfortunately separates them in ways that we would not like to believe that we're separate from other people. But I have found that it has separated me in a very good way, because I, too, have access to altered states of consciousness. And prior to doing a tremendous amount of healing, I had automatic images of the material and the creation. I never had an external inspiration in my life, and I've sculpted in every medium. And every medium told me which medium it was supposed to use for every image. And then after so much healing work, I'm so terribly at peace with myself, I could die. I'm not saying it's bad to be at peace with oneself, but I don't find prolific experience of internal images that just define the medium and the image, and there I am, and it's there. It's prolific level of materialization of the altered state of consciousness information. So I guess what I wanted to ask was, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because most people don't bring this up, and I find myself isolated, has there been like some way that you have felt that you're able to materialize images from altered states of consciousness in a state of having worked those issues through, a state